Hey everyone, quick reminder, until Tuesday, my G Fuel discount code WhosImmortal will get you 30% off your entire order. So if you want to stock up on your favorite flavor, or if you just want to try G Fuel for the first time, now is definitely the best time to do so. Anyways, on to today's video. Ladies and gentlemen, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Ever since the release of Warzone, we've covered a handful of different loadouts and best setups, right? But today, we are taking it that extra step. Today, we are breaking down the best setup and, I guess, ultimately, the best loadout for every single weapon we currently have in the game. Well, at least every weapon that you can actually customize. So no melees or launchers are in here because, obviously, they don't have attachments. But outside of that, we've got 42 different weapons to break down. So if you enjoy the video at any point, or if you just find it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you are new to the channel, I am always covering the best classes, the latest news and intel, pretty much all things of that nature, so feel free to subscribe to stay up to date with all of that. So right away, when it comes to the entire loadout, we'll just cover that once here since I use the same perks and equipment on every single class. Those being either cold-blooded or EOD. EOD is a bit more prominent right now because of all the RPG spam. However, cold-blooded is also a great choice when there's not constant rockets coming at you. Then I use Ghost in perk 2 and also Amped in perk 3. Then for my equipment, I've always got C4 and the heartbeat sensor, and when it comes to the secondary, really that depends the most on the primary you're using. But I think in the current meta, it is best to be using two primaries by the end of the game. So an AR and an SMG, or a sniper and a rifle, whatever your heart desires the most there. But if you do choose to run an actual secondary, as far as the ones you can customize go, you are limited to the pistols. Some of which are decent, others are kind of just meh, to be honest. So going in order, starting off the list for today, we've got the X16, which really is just one of those average pistols. It's no pre-patch snake shots, but it's not complete garbage either, it's really just average. So here, I'm using the monolithic suppressor. Prepare yourselves, you'll be hearing a lot of that today. We also have the advantage barrel for better range, the 1 milliwatt laser to help with hipfire accuracy, the lightweight trigger to increase the fire rate, and also the akimbo perk. Because in the situations where I would actually be using a pistol, 2 is definitely better than 1. Then following that, we have the 1911, which honestly is a pistol that I'm not really a big fan of. However, it is certainly solid when you can consistently hit your shots with it. It's got some pretty decent damage, but its kick is a little annoying. So personally, I would stray away from it, but my go-to setup here consists of the monolithic suppressor, the 1 milliwatt laser, the lightweight trigger, the 15 round mags because the standard mag is way too small for Warzone, so I guess size does matter. Then finally, I have the akimbo perk. Also, as we get further on into the pistols, you'll begin to see the common trend between all of them. Now, getting into the next setup, this one is for the 357, the former king of the pistols, if you will, but of course it was recently nerfed, so no more ridiculously strong snake shots. It's still not terrible. I would take it over pretty much every other pistol except for one, which we'll get to here momentarily. So here I am using the long barrel, the 5 milliwatt laser on this one for the better sprint to fire speed, the lightweight trigger, the snake shot ammo still because I think it's certainly better than the standard ammo even after the nerf, and of course the akimbo perk once more. Then we have the M19, which honestly just feels the same as the X16 in my opinion. I do think I prefer the M19 because of the way it kicks. I just find myself to be a bit more accurate with this one, so that's my choice out of those two. And here I've got the monolithic suppressor, the super barrel, the 1 milliwatt laser, the lightweight trigger, and the akimbo perk yet again. Pretty standard setup there, as I'm sure you can probably tell. After that, we have the 50 GS or the Desert Eagle, my personal favorite pistol just because the one-tap headshots over in multiplayer are incredibly satisfying. However, here in Warzone, it's not nearly as great unless you are the world's most accurate player because it does take a few shots to knock players and a few more to finish them off. But here I am using the monolithic suppressor, the enforcer barrel to make it as close to a mini sniper as I possibly can, the lightweight trigger, the stippled grip tape, and sleight of hand for a faster reload. Then, to finish off the pistols, we've got the Renetti, which is by far the #1 pistol in the game right now, thanks to the snake shot nerf. This is a great pistol for super close quarters action, however its range is kind of lacking, at least with what I think is the best setup. So getting into that, we've got the burst mod barrel to make it a 3-round burst pistol, similar to the Rafficas from MW2. I've also got the 1 milliwatt laser, the lightweight trigger, the 27-round mags, and the akimbo perk for one final time today. Now, getting into the snipers, we've got what is easily my least favorite weapon in the entire game, the Dragunov. I don't know what it is about this thing, but I just do not enjoy using it. This thing is, it's not incredibly strong, it's kind of slow. I just think there's way better options when it comes to sniping. So the Dragunov is not my cup of tea, but it may be yours, and if it is, I would recommend using the monolithic suppressor, the extended barrel, the variable zoom scope if you really want to treat it like a sniper, but that's really just preference based there, the Stalker Scout stock, and also the focus perk to reduce flinch. Then we've got the HDR. This is actually my personal favorite sniper in the game, and when it comes to the stats, this is literally the best sniper to use in Warzone. And all around, this is the go-to sniper in my opinion. Now here we've got the monolithic suppressor, the pro barrel, the tac laser for better speed and stability, the thermal scope just based off preference again, and the Stalker Scout stock once more as well. After that, and to close things out in the sniper category, we have the AX50, another great choice for sniping, but you know, it's no HDR. It's got more bullet drops, so I tend to not use it all that much, but it's not really that much worse. So if you do like it, roll with it, more power to ya. So here I've got the monolithic suppressor, the 32-inch barrel, the tac laser yet again, the thermal sniper scope, and also the assassin stock for a better ADS speed. And basically that's almost the exact same setup I have for the HDR, just with the AX50's specific attachments. Now next up we have the marksman rifles, a category that I think probably gets overlooked quite a bit, especially since the actual snipers are, believe it or not, the better snipers in most cases. But that's not to say you can't have some fun with the selection here. So starting here with the EBR, this thing is a powerhouse. Its headshot damage can be brutal and absolutely shred through players, but it's also not the most rush-friendly weapon in the world since it is semi-auto. Anyways, on the EBR, I'm rocking the monolithic suppressor, surprise surprise, the 22-inch barrel, the GI Mini Reflex is my choice of optic there, and I also use the Raider Chassis Elite stock and the focus perk again to close things out here. Then we have the MK2 or the Mark II carbine, which really is not all that great in Warzone because it does get quite a few hit markers. However, that also makes taking players out just a little bit more satisfying, right? So here I am using the suppressor that of course is monolithic, the 24-inch barrel, the VOK 3x optic, the Stippy Grippy, and the focus perk yet again. Following that, we have the CAR 98K, without a doubt my go-to marksman rifle. The CAR might be one of the best snipers in all of Call of Duty history. This thing is a ton of fun to use, and on it, I'm rocking the monolithic suppressor, the 27-inch barrel, the sniper scope, the stippled grip tape, and the focus perk here as well. And then we get to the CROSSBOW, a weapon that, much like the Dragunov, I'm not really a huge fan of. However, that said, getting kills with this thing is pretty fun because it's not the easiest weapon to use. There's a lot of bullets, or I guess arrow drop. It's not an aggressive weapon at all, it's just not super friendly in the slightest, but it can be relatively good for taking out vehicles or just being a nuisance to the enemies too. Now on it, I choose to roll with the 28 strand cable, the 100-pound arm, I guess you would call it, the speed grip, the thermite bolts, and also the speed track stock to make it a little bit more agile and also more annoying with the thermal tips on there, which, like I said, is actually decent against vehicles. Then we have the SKS, which is pretty similar to the EBR. Personally, I do think it feels a little weaker against armor, but that could just be me. And here I am using the monolithic suppressor, the M59/66 barrel, the tac laser, the sawed-off stock, and of course, the focus perk one final time. Now we move on into the LMGs, and we're starting strong with the PKM, one of the best weapons in the category. It is relatively agile, all things considered. I mean, it is still an LMG, so it's going to be slower than some of the other weapons out there, but for an LMG, it does feel pretty mobile. And its damage is also really good, so this thing is going to melt in nearly any engagement. Here I am using the monolithic suppressor, the heavy barrel, the snatch grip for better control and mobility, the grippled stip tape, and the no stock option too. We then have the SA-87, which I would say is probably the worst LMG in Warzone, just because it's not super convenient overall. You know, it's heavy, it's got some pretty hefty recoil, it's just not my preferred choice by any means whatsoever. However, the best attachments that I've found for it are the monolithic suppressor, the 25-inch barrel, the GI mini reflex, the 50-round mags, and the stippled grip tape again to ideally make it a little more rush friendly. Then we have the M91, which is a serious powerhouse. This thing is honestly one of my favorite ground spawns to find in game because it's just really reliable when it comes down to it. But when you can customize it, I would recommend everyone's favorite suppressor, the heavy barrel, the commando foregrip, the stippled grip tape, and the striker stock for better mobility. Now after that, we've got the MG34, which actually has one of the best DPS stats in the entire game. However, you are either spending a ton of time reloading or you are going to be moving pretty slow because you definitely need either an extended mag or a sleight of hand to make it even relatively convenient to use. Now, I use the monolithic suppressor, the brute barrel, the commando foregrip, sleight of hand, and also no stock, which I find makes it great for medium range fights and more consistent up close in addition to that. We also have the Holger 26, which really doesn't even feel like an LMG at most times, even with the setup that I use on it. I would say it is certainly more agile than some of the others, however, it is also not as strong as them, so I typically won't be running this when it matters. But I do like to use the monolithic suppressor. How many times have I said that so far, by the way? Anyone got a count in the comments below? I also use the GI mini reflex, the Axis stock, the commando foregrip, and the stippy grippy to round things out for this one. Then, the final LMG we have is the new BRUEN Mark 9, and this is easily the best LMG in the game. This thing is insanely good, and again, it really doesn't feel like an LMG in the slightest. So here I'm using the, you know what, Google, you take this one.
Monolithic suppressor.
The para barrel, the commando foregrip, the 60-round mags, and also no stock to really help it be even better for a run and gun playstyle. Now, moving on, we get into the shotguns, and this is a category that I don't find super viable in Warzone, honestly, just because plenty of other weapons excel in CQC fights and beyond, whereas the shotguns are very limited to just CQC fights. But the first choice here is the Model 680, which is just a decent shotgun overall. And here we've got the choke, the sport barrel, the 5mm laser, no stock, and also the Dragon's Breath rounds, as toxic as they may be, because they are more of a fear-inducing attachment that typically causes the enemies to go into, I guess you could call it panic mode, which can give you the upper hand in an engagement. Then we have the R90, what I would say is probably the second best shotgun for Warzone right now, and here I am using the choke again, the sentry barrel, the 5mm laser, the stippy grippy, and sleight of hand for attachment number 5. We also have the 725, which, hey, we all know it is fantastic and also pretty broken over in multiplayer, but here in Warzone, that greatness is just not the same. I would actually say this is the worst shotgun, primarily because you constantly have to reload, and you won't be getting a ton of downs or elims with just those first 2 shots, which ultimately leaves you pretty vulnerable during that reloading phase. Anyways, if you want to run the 725, I would use the choke, the sawed-off barrel since it is so broken, the 5mm laser, the slim grip guard, and also sleight of hand since you are going to be reloading so often. Then we have the Origin 12, and I do think this is the best shotgun in the entire game. I mean, it just wrecks everyone up close, and it can easily wipe full squads with the right attachments. And in my mind, those are the choke, the impaler barrel, the 5mm laser, no stock, and most importantly, the 25-round drums, so you basically never have to reload and you can just spray and pray for days. We also have the VOK Rogue, which truly I'm not a huge fan of either, but here I would use the choke, the Tsar barrel, the 5mm laser, the Dragon's Breath rounds for the same reason as before, and sleight of hand as well. Now, moving into the SMGs, this is probably the second most popular weapon category behind the assault rifles, which of course we'll be getting to here momentarily. And honestly, you've got a ton of great choices here. there's not really any SMG that I would say is just downright bad, and we're starting off strong with the AUG. And I mean, literally, we are starting strong because the AUG can be the strongest quote-unquote SMG in the game because of the 5.56 ammo conversion, which I think is essential when playing Warzone. So here I've got the monolithic suppressor, the extended barrel, the tac laser, the 60 round drums for the 5.56 ammo, and the rippled stip grape too. I will say this thing is a bit slower, but it is also kind of a powerhouse. Then we have the P90, which is far more lightweight and a very decent SMG all around. It works great for what it is, it's not the best, but it's not the worst either. Here I've got the monolithic suppressor, the retribution barrel, the tac laser, the fly strap stock, and of course, the stippy grippy. After that, we've got the MP5, one of the best SMGs in the entire game, if not the best SMG in the entire game. I'm sure you guys have all seen just how good it is, but here I am using the monolithic suppressor. However, I have been messing around with the integrated one too, and I'm actually liking that a lot. Then I also have the tac laser, the Merc foregrip, the 45 round mags, and the stippled grip tape here too. We then get to the Uzi, and I'm sure you're probably thinking this is the worst SMG in the game, right? But actually, I don't think so. The ammo upgrade actually makes it fairly decent up close. I still wouldn't choose it over the MP7 or the MP5, but it's not nearly as bad as I think people make it out to be. Here I've got the monolithic suppressor, which is actually bigger than the gun itself apparently, the carbine barrel. However, I have heard the pro barrel is better. Mine is just bugged and it won't unlock, so that's kind of unfortunate. Then I have the Merc foregrip, the 41 AE rounds, which are a must-have, and of course, the grip tape that is stippled to round things out there. Now, we also have the Bison, and while this is one of my favorite weapons over in multiplayer, in Warzone, it just might be the worst SMG because its damage is not great, its range is not great, and it results in a lot of armor hit marker sound effects basically, which of course is just not ideal. But if you do want to use it, I'd suggest going with the monolithic suppressor, the steel barrel, the tac laser, no stock, and the stippy grippy. Following that, we've got the MP7, which I do think is the best SMG in the game. It's between this and the MP5 for sure. However, the range on the MP7 is just incredible for an SMG, and that's why it stands out so much to me personally. So here, I've got the monolithic suppressor, the recon barrel, the tac laser, the 60 round mags, and of course, the stippled grip tape, which altogether just make the MP7 an absolute beast. Then, finally, we've got the Striker 45, which is another great SMG. I would say up there towards the top of the list, honestly. And on it, I like to use the monolithic suppressor, the stainless steel barrel, the tac laser, the Merc foregrip, and the 45 round mags. And now, we get into the final category for today, the assault rifles, the most popular weapon category in the game. And, well, brace yourself, we've got even more monolithic suppressors incoming. So, kicking things off here with the Kilo 141, this is just another very decent weapon. It's not bad, but it's not the best, and you can't really go wrong with it. It's going to be solid in most situations. On it, I've got, well, you already know the first attachment, alongside the SOCOM barrel, the Solo Zero reflex, the Commando foregrip, and the 60 round mags. Then we have the FAL, which is a weapon that I'm not really super fond of. It's fine, don't get me wrong, but semi-auto weapons aren't typically the best for a more aggressive playstyle, which is ultimately what I lean towards. But really, this thing is very strong and certainly viable if your aim is on point. Here, we've got the suppressor of the monolithic nature, the marksman barrel, the tac laser, the Solo Zero reflex, and the stippy grippy yet again. Moving on to the M4A1, this is one of the best weapons in the entire game, as I'm sure you probably know, and here I am using the monolithic suppressor, again, the M16 barrel, the Commando foregrip, the 60 round mags, and no stock to increase the mobility. After that, we have the FAMAS or the FR556, another weapon that I'm not really a huge fan of. It just seems kind of inconsistent in basically every type of engagement, so it is going to be a hot pass from me. But if it's your thing, I would suggest using the monolithic suppressor, the sniper barrel, the GI mini reflex, the 50 round mags, and also the stippled grip tape. The Odin comes into play for the next setup, and really this is everything you would want in a weapon if that weapon just had a larger magazine. The Odin is a beast. It melts, it destroys everything, but you have to reload constantly, so that's kind of a very big drawback. But on it, I do have the Colossus suppressor for a change, the 730mm barrel, the GI mini reflex, the 30 round mags, and also the rubberized grip tape for more control. I know, big surprise on that last one for sure. Now, next up we have the M13, one of the best rifles in the game, honestly up there with the M4. And it's going to be great for all types of engagements with its fantastic range and high fire rate. So here we've got the
monolithic suppressor,
the marksman barrel, the GI mini reflex, the commando foregrip, and also the 60 round mags to round things out. Then we have the Scar, what I would consider to be the worst rifle in all of Warzone, because like the Odin, it has a very small magazine, and its control and ease of use really aren't great either. If you want to use it though, I would go with the monolithic suppressor, the 20-inch barrel, the commando foregrip, the 30 round mags, and the close quarters stock for better mobility. Next up, we have the AK-47, a weapon that can be great if you are willing to put in the work. Its recoil is, well, kind of a pain. It does take some getting used to, but after you master it, the AK can be really, really good. Here we've got the same suppressor as on all the other weapons basically, the Romanian barrel, the 75 round drums, the stippled grip tape, and the skeleton stock as well. Continuing on, we've got the Ram 7, which is another great AR, especially up close because it's got such a fast rate of fire. And here I use the suppressor that's monolithic, the Ranger barrel, the GI mini reflex, the commando foregrip, and the 50 round mags because that's all it's got when it comes to getting a larger magazine. Then, finally, we've got the Grau 5.56, the #1 weapon in all of Warzone, hands down. This thing is a beast. And on it, you already know, we've got the monolithic suppressor, the Nexus barrel, or the Archangel barrel. Really pick your poison. Nexus is going to be better up close, Archangel is better at a distance. Then we've got the tac laser, the commando foregrip, and the final attachment for today, 40 plus weapons later, the 60 round mags. And with all of that being said, that is the best setup for every single weapon in Warzone, and that is going to wrap things up for today. If you guys enjoyed the video, or if you just found it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here and you want to stay up to date with the latest Call of Duty news, intel, updates, leaks, and everything in between, feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. That way you'll always know whenever I upload a new video. As I mentioned earlier, right now Code Immortal will get you 30% off your entire order over on gfuel.com. So if you want to restock your favorite flavor, or if you want to try G Fuel for the first time, now is easily the best time to do so. But once again, thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.